Hello, and thanks for watching this video. It focuses on a few automation features in QuickBooks Online. The actual title is Invoice, Recurring Transaction, and Reporting Automation. So the first one regarding an invoice, and I'm actually going to go to the gear icon, and in the far left column, Accountant Settings, and you're going to click on the Advanced tab on the left. Now, know your client. Some clients are not going to want to have this turned on. Others might, and it's in the automation section. And a few things to note here. Yes, I can pre-fill forms with previously entered content, kind of similar to the same preference in desktop. But remember, for vendors, there's no 3 accounts you can choose as defaults, right? So that would be a difference. And the automatically apply credits and automatically apply bill payments, I usually make sure these are unchecked if I want to have the choice of choosing what credit ARs go to an invoice or what debit APs go to a bill. If you have them checked off, QBO is going to just do the next one in line. So if you need more control than that, then turn those off. But the other one I'll have checked off is copy estimates to invoices. That's not an automated thing, but I think it's pretty obvious that you would have it, particularly if you're doing a lot of estimating. But look for a video from us on creating estimates in QuickBooks Online. But really, it's about this automatically invoice unbilled activity. So this will automatically create invoices and either don't notify me, or just remind me to create invoices. Typically choose that one or the first one. So every week on a Friday, you can choose any customer that has unbilled activity, whether it's a delayed charge, time, or you've tagged the customer field in QBO Plus, because you can have not only two-sided items, but you can add the customer field to cost forms or expense transactions, if you will. It'll actually create invoices for any customers that have that right now, that any customers that have unbilled activity, I should say. It'll create an invoice for. And again, know your client. You might not want that to be. So that's how that one works. It's just a check. So I'm going to uncheck it because, again, I want to have control on what I tag to a customer and choose what I want to put on an invoice. Now I'm going to go show you what that means really, and then we'll look at reporting and then recurring transactions. For this general customer, I might have a delayed charge, right, that I want to eventually pick up an invoice on. This is a non-posting sales transaction. It's for $550. And if I have that setting checked off, it's going to pass this through to an invoice, or actually it's going to create an invoice and include this $550 the next time based on my interval or frequency of automatically created invoices against unbilled activity. This would be a source of that invoice right here on the delayed charge form. Or you might have created an expense or entered a bill or written a check and you've tagged the customer and made it billable. This would all fall into that category where if I have that setting checked off in settings, it's going to include this on the invoice to this customer as well. Or I might have some time activity. I have a subsea vendor or an employee that was out at the general customer and they were doing some plumbing for 4 hours, and I've asked it to be billable. And so it's going to pass through. So that setting would also include this on the invoice. And when you go to the sales transaction window or customers list, you'll see unbilled activity and you can drill in on this, right? And the unbilled activity, if you have that setting turned on, it would create an invoice to these customers for that, depending on the interval you've chosen. It's kind of a broad stroke. Now, the other form of automation at the transaction level would be recurring transactions, or you might know them as memorized transactions in the desktop. But in QBO, we call it recurring transactions. Click on the gear icon. Under lists, you have recurring transactions. And I'll just go in and click edit. On the invoice, this is where you can create a bunch of transactions to recur. So it helps automation with, utilities or monthly expenses or weekly expenses or whatever, or also recurring payments from customers or invoices as well. You notice you have this automatically send email. So it'll create this recurring monthly invoice and it gets sent directly to the customer. And I can check off this box to include any unbilled activity as well, just specifically for this customer. If you don't want to turn on that broad general setting, right, you just want it to be for this particular customer, you can create a recurring invoice and check off the box to include unbilled charges. But remember, know your client. If they want some control over what they put on an invoice, then uncheck the box. And this is automation because it just automatically sends the email once the invoice is created there. And then when you have QuickBooks payments turned on, the bank transfer used to be 50 cents per payment. Now it's free. So you might have that on there so the customer can then just pay off the invoice and it skips the received payment and goes right into the bank account. So that's great automation there if you check that off and use QuickBooks Payments. And that would also work on a sales receipt if you're getting recurring credit card payments from a customer or recurring ACH. Set up a sales receipt. Great way to do it. Now there is a report to track a lot of this automation. It's under reports and then accountant reports, or for your clients would be all reports, accountant reports, and it's called recent automatic transactions. And this report show automatic transactions mostly recently created within the last 4 days. You can always customize it. I find that very humorous. A lot of accountant friends that I have will actually include this report in their monthly reports to their client, just so they can see the recent automated transactions that went through the business. Good idea. Finally, to tie up this automation story, if you go to my custom reports, under the reports menu, this is your kind of quote unquote memorized report list. As you customize reports and then add them to a group, you can actually schedule the group by clicking edit to be automatically sent to your client. Whoever's on the email, they'll receive any reports in the group as attached PDFs. They're not encrypted. There's no password to get in there. However, this is another form of automation within QuickBooks Online.